Dr. Clendenning, another fine episode of Total Disruption. I'm psyched to be here. How about you?
Great, Mike, and I'm doing good, man. How are you today?
Taking ass, taking names, bro. Leaving,
That's
uh,
normal.
leaving, leaving footprints and bloody butts in my way.
All
So
right, there's some imagery for you in the snow.
that's the idea. So I want to talk about how to walk back a mistake and try to sort of make amends um, on a mistake and a bad decision and somewhere where you've emotionally offended or hurt someone else unintentionally, or you just effed up because you made a bad mental choice. I'm not talking about, I mean, maybe if somebody's out there on the really deep end of the pool and you've committed a crime or something like that, maybe you can like use tidbits of this, but I'm not going that dark. I'm just talking more in the way of, hey, I said a few things to Jake, or I misrepresented something and Jake got burned on it. Now he's pissed at me, and we've had a 4-year friendship and a 4-year partnership, and now he's pissed. And I'm trying to allow him to see that A, I'm sorry, B, I made bad decisions, I'm only human, and then what the hell do I do from a person that's trying to make it right? Because I'm trying to not ruin a complete awesome friendship and a partnership. And I'm trying to like, okay, let's grow from this. Let's not forget it, but let's grow from this. And it happens with couples, it happens with longtime friends, it happens in the platonic world, business relationships. How do you get to where you and I are of the age we realize we've both been offended and we've both been offender. So I feel like you do that enough, you're a little bit more mature. But what if you're not? What if you've just never faced it? Or what if it hits somebody that's hearing this broadcast out of nowhere and they're like, wow, I'm really hurt by this other party that offended me? Or you're a younger individual and you're just getting started in this game. Let's give people some ideas, man. Like, let's do it. How do we do it? I've got plenty to say, but I'd like to hear what you have to say.
I'm going to make this so absolutely disgustingly simple for everybody of what this is. So there's a couple of aspects to this. One is we have to come to the understanding whether you're the offender or the offended. Sounds like a legal thing that I'm working on here. Um, we only can control ourselves. We cannot control someone else. So I want to be really clear when I say we only control ourselves. Okay. I cannot make Mike feel a certain way. I can't make Mike all of a sudden, if I did something, if I'm the offender, I cannot make Mike feel better about what I did. I can't go over to him and shake him and hug him and do whatever I need to do with him to make him feel better.
Or
The
hug
same,
me.
the same, yeah, don't. That's not going to work. The same is true if Mike offends me, right? I can't just go, all right, Mike, you need to feel what I feel. That doesn't work. You can't do it. So the first thing I need you guys to understand is you only have control over yourself and your emotions and how you react to this. So I'm going to give you a piece of NLP on this one. There is if you want, and here's a real word. This is a real word. I swear to God. Yep, it's
Probably not.
it is too. I'm telling you, so there's
Uh,
a piece of NLP and one of the techniques, and a lot of techniques actually came out of Hawaiian culture. Okay, so that's why I say this is a real word. It did. I'm telling you right now. There's some pieces in Hawaiian culture that came out of this. So there is a Hawaiian forgiveness ceremony that is called Ho'oponopono. Real word. Ho'oponopono. If you guys want the audio version of this, reach out to me, message me, throw a smoke signal, say, hey man, I need that thing. I need to be able to do this. And this is a internal technique. And yes, you can do it externally, but it's a lot of time easier to do internally and just in the quiet of your own universe. And this is a 7-minute audio version that can walk you through forgiveness. Okay. And it's two pieces. By the time you get to the end, the words are pretty simple. I forgive you. Please forgive me too. So you can say that to somebody else. That's fine. And yet, this is an internal this is, I want to call it internal combustion engine. This is an internal piece that you're using. And this is about, if you're the offender, first thing you got to do is you got to forgive yourself. You have to. We have to cut ourselves some slack in this space of where that is, especially. And this is whether you're, what's never happened to you before, or whether this is still happening for you. This is an incredibly powerful tool to be able to sit down and say, if Mike did something that made me mad, and to not have the fight. And I'll give you the example. We've all had a conversation after a conversation, that we have that build up, the man, if I'd have said this, it would have gone this way, and maybe I should have said that. Well, we're letting that conversation take up free rent in our head. We just don't need to. A way to stop the spin is literally that. You stop, take a couple deep breaths, close your eyes, sit back. I forgive you. Please forgive me too. Do that 2 or 3 times, and it will arrest the conversation. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow you the space to now just sit, like not have to deal with it. Now, I'm not saying, if you're, again, if Mike's saying, hey, if you went there and created did a heinous crime, or you did something terrible, you may need to go a little deeper in reparations than that. But this is a space in the, hey, I got mad at my kid, my spouse and I are fighting, my business and partner and I are having an issue. You got to stop the spin. You got to stop the smoke, stop the spiral, stop the stuff. This is a way for you to do it, and
Well,
it works wildly well.
I like that, except I would have to take 45 minutes of doing that because that's how angry I get at things. Especially
Okay, so there's a great example.
depending on
Yeah,
the level, depending on the level of the person. If it's somebody like in traffic, somebody I'm not super tough. If it's a double digit, multiple year friend, man, if I get pissed at somebody because typically if they break trust, not if they've done something to offend me, if they break trust, let me put this in layers. Let me walk this back. If somebody breaks trust and something happens that goes down big, and I was counting on somebody for something, or they misrepresented and put me at risk in some way, either financially or physically, I get really pissed because I don't trust easy. And when I do trust, and when somebody messes up and it's happened to me, I get pissed, man. And I forgive you, I forgive me, or forgive me, whatever that. So that like that takes place, but that's good for me. Got to have to be like a repeated sentence for a little while.
and that, which is absolutely true, right? And you bring it up, and if you're saying that it's going to take me 45 minutes to get there, and this is a practiced piece. This is just like anything else. This is something you got to put into practice, and it's going to take time to develop the skill. If right now, yes, you're probably angry enough that you're dwelling on it for 45 minutes, an hour. Fair. Totally fair, right? And this is where,
Not,
welcome
not every
welcome to the
problem.
80%. Not every problem.
But
Fair.
depending on the level and depending on the person, it's all kind of custom. But there's a couple examples that pull up in my head from my past that I was like, okay,
Yep.
oh,
And
pretty deep.
those pop up, right? Those pop up, and they creep up on you at weird times, just bizarre times that
Yeah.
stuff pops into your head. And this is a way to stop it. Like, this is a practiced piece, and of course, if you didn't know about it beforehand, you never would know to do this. And this is a practiced tool. I would encourage you, and this is where I'm gonna lay this on Mike to do it from an accountability standpoint. Start to implement this into daily practice. I'm not saying you're going to master this day one; it can't be done, but start to implement it into daily practice, especially on the little stuff. And a lot of this is, forgiveness is an epic tool. It really is an amazing, amazing tool to be able to move yourself forward. Once you, and there's some more about this I want to talk about, but it is an epic tool, and it's a piece that you have to, just like affirmations, just like gratitudes. That's all a tool in your toolbox to implement into daily practice in some capacity. Somebody at the coffee shop, spits on your lid of your coffee or whatever, and you have the choice at that moment to be super pissed, and or you can just throw the coffee away, get another cup of coffee, put it, and you just say it in your head of, I forgive you, please forgive me too. And that becomes that mutual agreement to end the conversation in your head, to stop the argument in your head. That's the point, to not let it take up space. So I want to talk about another one. Let's back this up a little bit more. What if the offense, okay, let's go that way. What if the thing is not actually the problem, right? And there's a Jack Sparrow quote. The problem isn't the problem. Your attitude about the problem is actually the problem. And that's from a Pirates of the Caribbean thing. And this is totally. I love that quote. And whoever the writer was of that particular quote, I think is brilliant. It was hilarious in the moment, and yet it's a great concept. What's the reason if you are taking some deep inward looks at what's going on with you, and you do something? I'll take it from me, right? Um, I have I have wrecked friendships over business deals.
Mhm.
It's happened. I'll own it. I'll 100% own it. Was not the intention. Okay, but here's where I want to take a little bit of ownership in this. It wasn't the fact that at the moment that we had to terminate the friendship, that is not actually where the problem occurred.
Mhm.
Okay, that was so far down the road that it was irreparable. That is just where it was. We have to then back it up. I can go, okay, well, that sucks, and this is where we are. But you got to keep backing it up down the timeline to where
Mhm.
you realize what was the decision that was made, either by me or by them or mutually or whatever it was, that led us there, that got us to that point. So going back, once you get to that, all right, I'm past this moment. I forgive you. Please forgive me too.
Okay.
Now you can take that. We talked about this in a previous episode. We talked about stoicism. We talked about the focus. Now we can go, all right, I'm going to walk back the timeline. What was the series of events that led to the incident that we're talking about, whatever the thing may be, right? What got me there? What started it? What do I need to be aware of? We've got to take that opportunity as a learning opportunity. We have to, plain and simple, because if we just simply crash that car, crash that friendship car, crash that business relationship, and we go, well, that sucked, and we move on, and we go dive into another relationship just like that again, we're going to repeat the same mistake, because we're not going back and understanding what truly caused it, what jumped up and made that thing occur. I'll give you the example of that particular instance where this friendship, it was a great friendship, and I'm very sorry that it went away. And it absolutely sucks, and I hate it. That was not the issue. The issue was 3 years before that. 3 years before
Okay.
that went down, of a decision that was made that caused it. That was where it started. Like once I made that decision, that thing was going to happen. The
All right.
causality was
So
going to happen.
you made a decision subconsciously or consciously 3 years before the decision happened, and it caused your friendship 3 years later to fail, or was it the second decision you made
Nope, it
that
was the first.
caused
It
it?
was the first one. It was a decision I made 3 years ahead of it, and it was
Okay.
an intentional decision. I sat down, I walked through the good and the bad, the pros and the cons, did all the whiteboard stuff, really thought this one through, made the decision to march forward against my gut. My gut's like waving the red flag, going, "This is not a good idea," and I mathed it to the point to where it made good sense, and I made a
You
decision.
justified something you didn't even need to do. That happened to me
I, I,
recently.
I justified something I did not need to do. I involved some friends on this one, and that was the problem. That is where the root problem came from, and so that's where I had to go back. You do the work, you walk all the way back, and go, okay, I know better. I knew better. It cost me this. This is the result that occurred. Still have to forgive myself. We friends, we all said something. I've said, hey man, I forgive you too. We've walked down that road, and yet I know where the decision was. So now that I know where that decision, what the original problem was, the original decision that caused it years later, should something like that come up again, I can understand it and go, okay, well, if I make the same call
Uh-huh.
odds are the same result's going to happen 3 years from now. I've got to be prepared for that.
Yeah,
So I,
well, or you pre-inform and you talk it through, like what if, like before you and
well,
I,
but we did that. That's what I'm saying. In that
uh,
moment, we had done that. Like it comes right back down to I have to go all the way back to that when I made that decision. And I'm doing it right now with some other stuff that's going on. Doesn't Fortunately doesn't have friends involved in this one, but there's some stuff that like, man, my gut's telling me no. And I've got to just take the step back. I've got to get stoic in it. I've got to get focused and I've got to sit in the problem. I can't just go to solution spot. I've got to sit in the problem to
ultimately your gut
evaluate.
can be wrong. I mean, listen, you can justify one way or justify the other. Ultimately, when we're talking about how to walk back bad decisions and leave people be, it's I made a decision and I've owned it. And it's, I think, ultimately the level of egregiousness, how well you know the person, if the impact to you is harmful. There's three ways of there's three ways a mistake, maybe three, maybe four, maybe two. There's a couple different ways a mistake can harm somebody. One, an emotional scar. Two,
Mm-hmm.
a physical scar. Somebody is compromised somebody's health,
Mm-hmm.
somebody's compromised somebody's safety and security, right? And then there's financial. Somebody's compromised somebody's money, security. Somebody has made an egregious error, right? And the other person is so deeply impacted that they made a decision to help out this mistake maker. There's a few different things, and some things you just kind of can't. There's just some things you can forgive, but you'll never actually forgive somebody. Like if you make a bad decision, like if I show up to your house and I'm wasted and I'm high on drugs and it's undetectable, and I'm driving you, and I somehow don't react in time, and you and I get into a car accident, and I don't know, so God forbid, Jake, something happens to you. You'll never forgive me for that. Like, why were you driving? I'm sober, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's certain things that you can't come back from. However, on the emotional side, like you said, your reaction to the way things are going down is probably most of the problem. I like to say, well, okay, Jake, you put something in motion 3 years ago. You ruined our friendship. If I choose to continue this relationship, I know that may happen, and I'm okay with that. Like, I know that may happen again. I know you, and that's just part of getting to know you. Can I live with what you've done to me, understanding now I understand a different capacity about you? And I really feel like in the land of friends are hard to come by, everybody makes mistakes. How well, how well do you want to know people, and where do you want to come out? And some people just can't do it, and that's okay too. You can forgive somebody and not have to. You could not allow them back in your life. You could say, "Listen, I understand you
Yes.
made a mistake, but I don't." The rose-colored glasses have been so like cleared up that I don't like what I'm looking at, no matter what. I just don't like it anymore. I don't like it. If I'm living behind a garbage dump that somebody keeps telling me they're going to turn into a beautiful park, and it's 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years. Finally, I'm like, you know what? Where's the park? I'm sick of looking at the garbage dump. I'm moving. I'm out of here. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I don't hate the fact that you didn't make the park happen. I just don't want to live behind a garbage dump anymore. No offense. So that's sort of what happened. That's sort of what I mean. Like when you walk back something and you do all you can, you still don't know how that other person is going to react or
Absolutely true.
when that's going to erupt again, right? Or when that's going to disrupt. Yes.
Yep. So
Uh,
you made two things. One I'm going to argue with you on. The other one I was going to, but then you came back and you made a great statement around it. You had made so I'm going to start with that one. You said there's one particular place that you may never be able to forgive somebody. That's not true. That one, but you made the right statement. You can always forgive somebody, but you don't have to let them back in your life. You don't have to trust them. You don't have to re-engage with them. And yet, the forgiveness piece allows you to close the door. So I'm just simply saying you can always forgive somebody. You don't have to. That's up to you. That's your call. But the ability to do so always exists, regardless of how heinous and god awful it is, because it gives you some closure. So the opportunity is always there. But Mike's right. You do not have to let that re-engage with that person, let them back in your life, whatever it's going to be. The other one I want to argue with you on this one, because we talked. You briefly mentioned your gut's not always right. Now that one I want to fight with you on, because I don't think that's true. And the reason I say that is from a very instinctive standpoint. Like if we think about from a health, life, and safety perspective, what your brain does from an instinct standpoint, I know, and I've got the data to prove it from my instincts, that my gut, my instincts are damn near always right. Where I get into trouble is I'm smarter than I should be when it comes right down to it. And I will start to justify because I maybe want something, or it feels really, it's exciting in a moment. And so I'll start to overcome my instinct that's like, hey man, don't, you need to take the time out on this one. I will start to shove that down and I'll push it to the side to try and justify it because it sounds like a great quote unquote air quotes opportunity.
Is it your
That
gut or is it fear? And I don't know the two. Where's that threshold between when you push yourself out of when you push yourself out of discomfort and you're saying, okay, this is my gut telling me not to, or is it some sort of learned behavior? Because I know that sometimes the two with me intersect. My
they
gut's
can.
telling me
I think
no,
that's fair.
only
Yep.
because I have limiting beliefs.
Yep. Well, we all do. Everybody does. You're going to spend a stupid amount of time working on limiting beliefs. There was a little while when I first was embracing NLP heavily that I came up with I had spent a ton of time just digging in and digging in and digging in and digging in. And I at one point woke up in the morning and said, I have abolished all of my limiting beliefs. I've gotten rid of them all. That was a limiting belief in of itself because it wasn't true. But there, so let's talk about that a little bit. The intersection of like fear, danger, those types of things, and gut. When I'm talking about, there, of course, there's the fear of failure, right? There's that genuine fear of failure that most people have. So if you have an opportunity to take on a new business practice, a new experience, whatever it's going to be, and it's outside your comfort zone, and a little bit of this is you've got to know you. You've got to know you, and you've got to spend time, back to the point of you got to sit in the problem. You got to go back to what the original thing is. You have the capacity to decide, is this fear for fear's sake, or is this my gut telling me this is the wrong decision? They are two separate feelings. They live in different places in your body. So like we could work through this, but we are straight up coming out of time. But the reality is that both of those feelings exist in different spots. So you've got to understand, when I say it's a gut instinct, where does that feeling live? It lives in your gut. It literally lives in your lower abdomen. Typically, fear lives in your chest. Typically, fear will be in your chest. So you've got to understand which one's talking to you. Which one is it? And if you don't get a feeling either place and you're all in your head, that's not instinct. That's justification. It's a little bit different. So spend a little bit of time. If you want to know more about this, reach out to us, right? DM us, reach out to us on social media, reach out to us in some way. Tell us where you heard it. If you're wherever you listen to podcasts, you can get it on Amazon, you can get it on Apple, wherever you're going to go. But reach out to us and talk to us about this. How do I know? Mike brings up a brilliant question here about how do I know if it's fear or how do I know if it's instinct. And that's just a little bit of internal work to understand where that lives, because every emotion is attached to a spot in your body, and you to learn which one it is, it's important for you to be able to understand which one you're dealing with. Is it fight or flight, or is it a this is good decision making?
Amen to that, Jake. I think that deserves its own episode. Um, I really do. For sure, it's a deep dive that we have to do, and I mean, I think that's a good point. As we bring that up, I feel like fine tuning that is probably the key to business success. I think listening and being practical at the same time you're applying your trade and expanding, and then what rabbit holes you go down to create new behaviors based on gut, based on avoiding fear, or based on, hey, let's not do that because that's a waste of time listening to your gut. Because I mean, think about it. How many bullshit pursuits have we both gone on professionally not listening to our gut, right? Or personally, how many tangents
Mm-hmm.
have we gone down? How many dinners have we gone to? How many coffees have we gone to? How many times have we been on the phone? It's just been like, oh, why did I do this? I knew better. But then there are those handful of times where I'm really glad I did this, and I am really glad I did this, and I made out because of it. So that's the counterpunch, right? So anyway, all right, man, it's been a great episode, and I think we got a lot out of today. And I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to Total Disruption. Jake, you got anything else to add before we bail?
No, man, we are out of time.
All right, I'm Mike Labersi for Dr. Clendenning. You've been on Total Disruption. Now it's your turn to disrupt.